This is breaking news.
That's up there. They went into, I believe that's the bike path on the bridge. And you can see it's separated by what we call Jersey dividers, those concrete dividers, and fencing. That's what they were climbing over. But either way, they were able to get away from the police that were coming up behind them. So let's see what happens as this group continues to march across the Brooklyn Bridge and make their way now into the Brooklyn side of the bridge. We showed you down here by the ramps that bring you from the various roadways onto the Brooklyn Bridge. You have a wall of NYPD over here. That's the ramp that comes off the Brooklyn-Queens Expressway. And you can see they're all standing there on the road surface where the vehicles would be. And the group has made their way into the bike path area. There they come marching across the bridge. Clearly the group now deciding they're going to now climb up over the fencing again, and this time they will go on to the pedestrian walkways. So we see half of the group at least making their way up over that fencing, and as they do that, you still have the front part of the protesters, that large group there. It's gotten considerably smaller now, making their way down towards the Brooklyn side of the bridge. And again, what we're waiting to see is what happens when they get over here by where the roadway had been blocked by the motorized unit. And as they enter the frame from the top right side of the screen, we can see the police officers here are going back onto their motorized units, and they're going to move off of the roadway there now, it looks like. So now they're just pushing the vehicles over towards the ramp from the BQE. And we see the bicycle police have resumed their patrol, and they're going to ride along with what's left of the group that's in the bike path area. And we saw some of the protesters get up onto the pedestrian walkway, and they're going to head down towards the steps that lead them away from the Brooklyn Bridge. In the meantime, now the rest of the group is climbing the fencing over here. And, well, look at those police that we had seen on the roadway before. That were blocking the road. They are now up on the pedestrian walkway. So they're kind of keeping the protesters into one specific area. This group has been shifting their path quite a bit. Now we see more up over here, climbing fencing still. You see they have left the bridge portion, and now they're on the ramps going back into Brooklyn. You see as the police continue moving their vehicles around. We look down here on the path. And now we see police from the Brooklyn side moving into the group, and they're walking past some of these bicycles, having them move along, which tells me the group over here is going to see the police approaching them from the Brooklyn side. So you should see people climbing the fencing again, and there you go. Some of the folks there trying to get up over the fence. Putting over the fence, you have the motorized units. And now we see the police meet the group, and now they're stopping them. And you can see more people now being taken into custody. Drumstick being ripped away there from the drummer. And getting a little physical down there. We see them keeping protesters up against the wall. Again, another 3-4 people there. And now the bicycle police are making their way onto the pathway from the Brooklyn side, starting to block off their exit from the Brooklyn Bridge. And we see some people still climbing the fencing back over here, trying to get away from the police, excuse me, with a little bit of help from some of the pedestrians. And now we see more people running backwards, trying to get away from the police. But again, a handful of protesters in the front being taken into custody. And again, another half a dozen or more, actually, it looks like. Maybe 7 or 8 more people in custody back over here. And we'll see the the bicycle officers making their way along the pathway. It looks like many of the protesters who were on the bike path are now up on the pedestrian walkway. Let's take a look at that there. You can see them now starting to walk towards Manhattan again. We see others helping, trying to get over that rail. Not an easy climb for many people. We'll come back to those folks in a second, but we see now a large collection of police officers down there. Again, in those bright yellow shirts. Those are the bicycle unit. They are from the bicycle unit, and they are the ones that have been affecting most of the arrests that we've been watching over here on this rally as it's trying to make its way across the Brooklyn Bridge. And they got into Brooklyn, but didn't quite make it down off of the Brooklyn Bridge proper. They're still stuck on the ramps and the pathways. And now looks like they're telling them to walk into Brooklyn. And you can see as the group walks towards the bridge or towards the streets of Brooklyn now, several people with their hands cuffed behind their backs. We have roughly a dozen people who are under arrest just in this one group, and we see some of the other protesters who were able to get up onto the pedestrian walkway, walking with their fellow protesters who have now been taken into custody. You can see them, it appears they're shouting at the police officers who are walking the arrested. And let's look over here, and you can see now they continue their march across the Brooklyn Bridge. We'll just take a look back here really quick and just see any other activity that may be behind that group as we get around some of the buildings. But you see people just walking across the Brooklyn Bridge now. So we'll try to follow the group over here. Again, that group we were just looking at a few seconds ago, they're behind that large building there. We'll come around that building and take a look at the escort that's happening right now. Although we see people running from the sidewalk again. Yeah, and you see people now just jumping over the sides of the bridge there, trying to make sure they don't get caught up in what's happening over there with the arrests. Okay. Thank you, Wanda. Will do. So again, we'll watch here as... Yep. We're going to watch them go over the bridge. We see some of the folks back there that were following behind the arrested. And like I said, close to a dozen people in this group that's being led off of the bridge now. And again, we are back now into Brooklyn. And if you are just joining us, this is a protest that started in the Wall Street area earlier this afternoon. And as we see many of the protests that start down by Wall Street, the rally will make its way up Nassau and up towards the Civic Center area where City Hall is, many of the courthouses, up towards Foley Square. And that's where this one was appearing to go until when they got past the Brooklyn Bridge, they made a sudden U-turn and ran up onto the road deck of the Brooklyn Bridge, going against traffic. As they were doing that, the police had to kind of recollect themselves and try to catch up to the group. But as that group went through traffic, They were lighting flares and other smoke devices. They seemed to be in the colors of the Palestinian flag as they were walking through traffic. And as the bicycle units, which are the gentlemen and ladies that are in the yellow-topped uniforms that say NYPD on the back, as they got to the back of the rally of the protesters, they would jump off their bicycles and start taking 2, 3, 4 at a time. And then they would, another set of bicycle units would, cops would come up behind the protest and just keep arresting people as they were going across the bridge until they got to the front of the group here, and they came up from the Brooklyn side. And this group right here, we're watching roughly a dozen protesters being led away. They'll be taken, they are actually in custody right now. They'll be taken to a waiting police unit. And again, you can see the bus right there. More than likely, that is where these protesters are being taken to. So we'll keep an eye on this for a minute as they lead them onto the bus one by one. Oh, it's a cloud cover coming in. Sorry about the picture there, folks. Let's just change a button on the camera and we'll fix that up for you. There you go. And there they are, one by one. They'll be led onto this NYPD bus, where they'll be taken to a precinct to be processed. And again, if you've been watching this for a while, what you would see is as they made their way across certain points of the bridge, some of the people who were in the rally, which when we picked it up seemed to be a couple hundred people, would jump to different parts of the roadway surface, whether it be the bike lanes or up onto the pedestrian walkway to try to avoid being taken into custody by the NYPD. But my rough count that I, as we tried to keep count as we went along the way, at least a couple dozen people appear to have been taken into custody. You see this person by the doors now. Seems a little unhappy with his situation, being led into the bus. And here we see more officers going back towards the bridge, or at least just coming to a stop in this area. Like I said, there were several pockets along the way where they would take people into custody, so I'm sure those folks have also been led to a police vehicle. And we see the bicycle units basically forming a barrier between the folks on the walkways and the bike paths and the bus itself. We see the other side of the bus now where they're putting up a barrier of police bicycles. Let's give you a bigger picture here. And again, while all this is happening, all traffic to the Brooklyn Bridge going from Brooklyn to Manhattan is being held. You can see atop your picture there, police cars blocking off the entrance to the Brooklyn Bridge from downtown Brooklyn. Looks like we have a couple of protesters that's still being searched and being put onto this police bus. Looks like at least 3 more people that'll be put onto that police bus and taken away from the scene. 4 more. Again, we see they have to do this one by one. And there's a procedure the police will do before they'll get them onto the bus and sit them down. That's why this process takes a little bit of time. And Chopper, CBS Desk. Again, we have, it looks like 2 more people. Nope, 3. Yeah, I was going to ask you what you want to do at this point, because obviously we're getting close. Let's see. Well, they got 1 more person to put onto the police bus from that last group of people that were arrested. Let's see what's going on here. I just want to make sure. Police are coming off the bridge still. Yeah, I mean, they're still walking. You still see police officers walking the bike lanes. Okay. I just want to make sure there's nothing on the Manhattan side. There we see more of the NYPD coming across the bridge. Again, the Brooklyn Bridge going into Manhattan still shut down. It looks like all the other protesters who were taken into custody have been removed from the bridge. We'll just take one more look across the Brooklyn Bridge on the Brooklyn side to see what's going on. Actually, here you go, Wanda. Okay, so the ones that were being arrested on the bridge, Wanda, they have a couple of vans, and they're still taking those folks into custody. Okay. So that's what happened with the other protesters who were arrested. You see the police holding backpacks, other possessions of the folks who were taken into custody. It's a collection of items over here on the side of the roadway. Really? Now we're going to go back in a minute or two. We're just trying to get the last of the arrests over here. And again, folks, okay. Okay, folks, we're going to start heading back towards our airport in Linden as we watch the police put the last of the protesters on the bridge into the police vans. Eric, we can start heading away. And again, you see the police processing the last of the arrested over here. You can see the officer with the notepad there, taking names, information. We see these trash bags where they're taking the personal effects of the folks who were arrested, and they'll collect them in those trash bags and bring them to the precinct that they will be processed at. So we'll leave the Brooklyn Bridge at this point, and we're going to make our way back towards our home airport.
This has been breaking news.